Aspen, Colorado in the 1970s was not merely a tourist destination. It was a symbol of luxury, a secluded sanctuary reserved for the elite and the brightest stars of Hollywood. Amid the thin, cold mountain air, people came here to hide away in luxurious pine log chalets, sip wine by the fireplace, and glide down soft, pristine snow slopes. Aspen at that time was beautiful in a quiet, almost untouched way, a beauty that seemed impossible to tarnish. However, on the fateful afternoon of March 21st, 1976, that stillness was shattered by a sharp gunshot echoing from inside the chalet of Spider Sabich. Spider, the legendary American skiing hero, a man with the physique of a Greek god and a smile that melted the hearts of millions of women, collapsed in the bathroom. A fatal bullet to the abdomen took his life before he even realized what was happening. The person who pulled the trigger was none other than Claudine Longet, the seductive Hollywood muse and former wife of legendary singer Andy Williams. The entire United States was stunned. How could a woman with such a fragile, delicate appearance, who always spoke in a soft voice and had innocent eyes, possibly shoot the man she loved? Was it truly an accident, a gun misfire as she claimed, or a premeditated murder orchestrated by a wounded, vengeful heart? After decades of absolute silence in the face of public scrutiny, as the darkness of old age and death began to close in, the harsh truth behind that night's gunshot slowly came to light, closing one of the darkest mysteries in the history of the entertainment world. Before becoming the center of a shocking murder case, Claudine Longet was the embodiment of a French dream in the heart of Hollywood. The Paris-born girl possessed an unmistakable beauty, a mesmerizing blend of European elegance and the glamour of the American film capital. With large, perpetually melancholic eyes and a petite frame, Claudine made any man who looked at her instinctively want to protect her. Her artistic career was a soft yet haunting pop-folk melody. In film, Claudine made her mark with the iconic role of the innocent Michelle Monet in the classic The Party, alongside comedy legend Peter Sellers. Her image as an innocent, fragile girl with a whisper-like voice became her signature. In music, she did not possess a powerful vocal range, but her soft, delicate voice in love songs such as Love is Blue could seep deeply into listeners' hearts, making her a symbol of subtle femininity and quiet allure. However, Claudine Longet's true power did not lie only in her beauty or talent, but in her social status. Her marriage to legendary singer Andy Williams elevated her to Hollywood royalty. Andy was not only a husband but also a powerful patron, introducing Claudine into elite social circles where she became acquainted with the Kennedy family, the people who symbolically shaped America's destiny. At that time, Claudine was not just a star. She was a symbol of privilege, a woman who seemed able to touch anything she desired, and was always protected by velvet walls of wealth and fame. This radiant aura and life of indulgence made it unimaginable that beneath such perfection lay a soul slowly burning with possessiveness and the rising currents of an impending tragedy. When her marriage to Andy Williams ended, Claudine Longet did not retreat into obscurity. Instead, she entered a new chapter driven by instinct and passion when she met Spider Sabich. If Claudine represented French elegance and romance, Spider embodied strength and freedom. He was the golden boy of the ski slopes, a skier with flowing blonde hair and a fearless spirit. The pairing of a Hollywood muse and an American sports star quickly became the center of attention, a couple so beautiful they seemed to belong only in glossy magazines. However, behind the glamorous photographs and ski trips, their relationship was a collision between two completely opposing personalities. Spider Sabich was a free spirit. He loved parties, adventure, and living without restraint. Claudine, sensitive from years of fame's ups and downs, carried a strong need for control. She wanted to fully possess Spider's heart, to keep him forever as her guardian in her world. That possessiveness turned love into a tightening noose, constricting Spider's freedom. The darker side of their passion gradually emerged through constant arguments. Close friends later recounted irreparable cracks forming between them. The early brilliance faded into jealousy and the suffocating tension of a relationship heading toward collapse. Rumors even suggested that shortly before the fateful night, Spider Sabich had grown tired and wanted to end everything. He longed to return to himself, free from Claudine's overwhelming influence. The eerie silence between them in the wooden chalet that afternoon was not peace, but the build-up of an emotional storm. One person wanted to leave to reclaim freedom. The other tried desperately to hold on at all costs. Love, when pushed to its extreme selfishness, was no longer a safe harbor but a black hole. This escalating tension led to a defining moment, a moment where truth and deception would forever be entangled in a dry gunshot amid a snowy paradise. Around 5 p.m. that day, Aspen was bathed in the deep violet sunset of the mountains, a silence so beautiful it felt unsettling. Inside the warm wooden chalet, a tragedy unfolded that remains one of the greatest mysteries in American legal history. What the public knows are fragmented and contradictory pieces. Spider Sabich collapsing while preparing to take a shower, and Claudine Longet standing there in shock, holding a gun in a state of emotional distress. Claudine's immediate testimony became the focus of intense debate across the media. She tearfully insisted it was a terrible accident beyond her control. According to her, Spider was showing her how to use a small handgun for self-defense, and in a moment of carelessness, the gun discharged. It sounded plausible for a woman always portrayed as gentle and unfamiliar with violence. However, when forensic experts and investigators examined the case, the narrative began to fracture under physical evidence. Subsequent forensic reports indicated that the bullet trajectory and firing distance were completely inconsistent with a simple instructional mishap involving a firearm. Evidence at the scene suggested that Spider had been at rest and was not in any position or state, suggesting he was engaged in weapons handling. This discrepancy between testimony and physical evidence raised painful suspicions about whether a very different scenario had occurred inside that room. The situation became even more complicated and controversial when a series of troubling procedural errors by local police altered the legal direction of the case. Critical evidence such as the victim's blood samples and Claudine's personal diary, which could have revealed the true emotional state of both individuals before the tragedy, were dismissed by the court due to privacy violations and improper collection procedures. The disappearance of such crucial evidence created a massive gap in the pursuit of justice for Spider. Many close friends of Spider insisted that he was an extremely careful person with solid knowledge of firearms, making the idea that he would calmly teach his girlfriend how to use a gun in such a situation highly illogical. The emotional weight of that fateful night was not only the loss of a life, but also the suffocating presence of secrets buried beneath a curtain of power and privilege. That gunshot did not merely end the life of a skiing legend, it also marked the beginning of a legal battle shaped by status and influence, where the beauty and fame of a Hollywood muse were placed on the scale against an unforgiving truth. When the trial began in Aspen, the American public witnessed a rare spectacle in courtroom history, the power of fame and elite connections forming a protective shield around the accused woman. Rather than being isolated, Claudine Longet appeared surrounded by some of the most influential men in her world. Most notably, Andy Williams, the legendary singer and her former husband, was present, paying for her entire legal defense and standing beside her before the cameras, as if his personal reputation could vouch for her innocence. This protection created a powerful psychological effect, transforming Claudine from a suspect into a sympathetic figure in the eyes of the jury. The defense strategy heavily emphasized the image of a small, fragile woman with little understanding of firearms who was suffering the emotional pain of losing her lover. Procedural mistakes made by law enforcement earlier in the investigation became a powerful weapon for her lawyers, allowing them to dismiss damaging details and shift the court's focus toward the possibility of a tragic accident, a brief moment of careless misfortune. The verdict that followed sent shockwaves across the United States. Claudine Longet was found guilty only of negligent homicide, a far lesser charge than initially feared. Her sentence amounted to just 30 days in jail, and even more astonishingly, she was allowed to choose when to serve it so as not to disrupt her personal life. The public was stunned and outraged, believing justice had been bent by fame and privilege, and that the life of a sports hero like Spider Sabich had been treated with shocking disregard. Yet even though she avoided a long prison sentence, Claudine never escaped the harshest judgment of all: public opinion. The case marked a dark turning point in her life. From a pure Hollywood muse, she suddenly became the most hated woman in America. Admiration was replaced by suspicion and coldness. She remained free physically, but the door back into her former glamorous world had permanently closed, beginning years of isolation and public rejection. After serving her controversial 30-day sentence, Claudine Longet did not flee Aspen for another city. Instead, she chose to remain in the very place where the tragedy had unfolded, not as a shining star, but as a fading shadow of her former self. She later married Ron Austin, the lawyer who had defended her in the trial. This marriage became a form of final retreat, a protective barrier that allowed her to withdraw completely from media scrutiny and public judgment. For more than 4 decades, Claudine lived in near total seclusion, cutting off almost all ties to her former life. She lived quietly behind stone walls, rejecting million-dollar interview offers and never offering further explanation about the night of the gunshot. Many believed this silence was not peace, but self-imposed confinement. Her decision to remain in Aspen, where every street and slope echoed memories of Spider Sabich, felt like a lifelong confrontation with a verdict no court could ever deliver: the judgment of conscience. As old age approached and her health declined, her relationship with the past seemed to shift in subtle but haunting ways. Those closest to her reported that in her final years, she often drifted into fragmented memories. The harsh truth was no longer about legal facts, but about emotional reality, deep regret, and profound loneliness. Her decades-long silence became, in the eyes of the public, a form of unspoken confession, an absence of denial that spoke louder than words ever could. Until the end of her life, Claudine Longet remained an unresolved mystery of Hollywood. Neighbors occasionally saw an elderly woman, carrying the fading beauty of a lost era, quietly gazing toward the snowy mountains. In her eyes, there seemed to be a search for forgiveness, or perhaps simply the waiting for release from a burden carried for an entire lifetime. She did not pass away as someone who had defeated the court of law, but as a woman who had spent her life learning to live with a truth known only to her and the man who died that day. Her story became a tragic symphony, beginning with bright notes of fame and ending in a long, fading silence. The fall of a Hollywood icon tied to an unsolved tragedy left a permanent scar in the cultural memory of the era. From a Parisian muse to the most hated woman in America, her journey reflects not only the collapse of a star, but also the fragile boundary between innocence and guilt, love and possession. The tragedy of Spider Sabich and the controversial 30-day sentence remain a striking example of how justice can be influenced by power and privilege. It leaves behind a bitter but enduring truth. Money, fame, and connections may shield a person from prison walls, but they can never shield them from the judgment of conscience. Claudine's freedom for nearly half a century was, in many ways, not freedom at all, but a long, silent passage through remorse and shadow. Her legacy is not found in songs or performances, but in the cautionary weight of her story. When the stage lights fade and influence disappears, a person is left alone with their own conscience. The final image of Claudine Longet, a woman carrying the secret of that night into the grave, remains a haunting reminder of how destructive selfishness can be. The Aspen story closes like snow falling over silence, covering everything in stillness. Justice may have been bent in court, but history and conscience always find their own way to deliver judgment. Claudine Longet left the world carrying her secret into obscurity, ending a chapter that continues to raise difficult questions about truth, power, and forgiveness.